Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. Hope you're doing well. When we started this year, I promised myself I'd live up to my channel's name and play more games in my backlog. And despite life's attempts to stop me, up to and including giving me frickin' jury duty, I'm proud to say we've been doing pretty good on that front so far. But with that said, one of my favorite things about this channel is that I get to showcase things in games that very few people know about. And today, we're gonna do just that. Because today's weapon of choice is the Beast Claw. This weapon tends to go unnoticed by most players, mainly because it can only be found deep in the Chalice dungeons. Which is a shame, because this weapon is my absolute favorite weapon in the entire game. And I think it's about time I show you all why. Today, we're going to find out. Can you beat Bloodborne with only the Beast Claw? Alright, let's see what we're dealing with here. Crafted out of Dark Beast bones, this claw weapon has several special qualities that make it completely unique from other weapons. The damage itself is pretty low, and the stat scaling is nothing to get too excited about, but this is all a facade meant to trick players who simply glance at the numbers and nothing else. If you actually equip the weapon, you'll find that the moveset is pretty similar to other short-range weapons. Quick claw attacks with R1, semi-powerful charge attacks with R2, with the ability to backstab with a fully charged attack as well. However, this weapon's true power lies in its transformability. Press L1, and your left hand turns into another claw. Gnarly. This in turn gives you much faster dual-wielding attacks, a more violent charge attack, a double swipe attack with L2, and a jumping dual strike attack with R2. But there's two other hidden qualities of the weapon as well, qualities that we'll need to leave the dream to show off.
But while we wait on those 5-minute Bloodborne load screens, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Wanted Dead. Wanted Dead is a...
Hey, can I take this one?
Actually, that's against the rule.
Yeah, sure, whatever you say. Hey there, thanks for not fast forwarding. Normally, I let Melon handle the ad reads, but I figured we can do things a little different this time around. Look, I don't need to tell you what Wanted Dead is. I've been advertising it for months, and, shameless plug, even did a full-fledged challenge run for the game. It's one of the strangest games I've ever played, and I love it to pieces. And it brings me great joy to tell you that a patch that just went live made it even better. There's a new statistics menu to help you hunt achievements, Steam Cloud saves are now a thing, and it also got, significant improvements in performance via a DLSS update, alongside the inclusion of FSR support. No idea what any of that means, but I'm sure at least one person out there just got very excited. I've also been told that there's going to be more patches in the near future, including some balancing for the combat. Or, as we like to call it here on the channel, an oh god, why did we let Lemon Challenge run our game patch? So that's neat. If any of that sparks your interest, I've got one more thing. The game is currently on sale until February 21st on Steam and February 28th on PlayStation, for up to 67% off. Feel free to use my link in the description or pinned comment down below to let them know I sent ya, and enjoy all of the gun kata, ramen, claw machines, and dystopian cooking videos that you can handle. Alright, that's all I got. And hey, look, Bloodborne finally loaded. Anyway, as I was saying, we have two special qualities to unveil. The first one is easy to see. When you attack enemies, every swipe of the claws adds to your beast meter. That's right, the Beast Claw is essentially an unlimited gumball machine for beast blood pellets. For those of you who didn't just spit your coffee all over your screen, allow me to explain. Beasthood is a mechanic in Bloodborne that acts as both a buff and debuff. Normally, you have to use a semi-rare item called a Beast Blood Pellet to get the effect, and even then it only lasts for 1 minute. When under the effects of Beasthood, your attack increases by a certain amount, while your defense simultaneously decreases by that same amount. The more Beasthood you have, the bigger those numbers are. Unfortunately, it's a bit difficult to get super high numbers due to the fact that the maximum number you can reach is capped by several factors, like your insight and your armor. But don't worry, I've got a few tricks up my sleeve that'll help us increase that number as the run goes on. For now, all you need to know is that the beast claws are fast, act like dual daggers, and make my build into a glass cannon from the word go. And I love it. I nab my first armor set, which drastically improves my beasthood meter, grab a few upgrade materials and unlock all the shortcuts around Central Yharnam, then make my way to the first boss of the run, the Cleric Beast. Time to see what these claws can do. Because of how aggressively they attack, the claws are great at breaking boss limbs, which means you do more damage to the boss. Combine that with your ever-increasing beasthood meter, which makes you do even more damage to the boss, and you've got a boss fight that takes all of 1 minute to complete. Boss health bar melted, Cleric Beast torn asunder. It's gonna be a good run. Back in the Hunter's Dream, I take all of our newly gained blood echoes and put them into endurance, because more stamina means more attacks, which means more beasthood, which means more damage. I think you see where this is going.
Beasts all over the shop. You'll be one of them, sooner or later.
Sooner, I hope. Time to put our new stamina to work. The next boss is Gascoigne, but at this point, I'm almost embarrassed to call him a boss. I mean, look at this. Poor guy can barely stand up. Even when he does manage to land a hit on me, the Beast Claws attack so fast and have such high rally potential that I can more or less regenerate back to full. Another beastly imposter destroyed. Moving right along. I collect the Blood Gem Workshop tool, which we'll be making use of soon, pump my endurance up to 20, then sprint around the Cathedral Ward, collecting more upgrade materials and what few blood gems I can find. This lets me upgrade my claws to +4, and also unlocks a few slots on my weapon for blood gems. The ones I've found so far are pretty miserable, and only increase my damage by about 3% or so. But even 3% means a lot when your damage as a whole is getting boosted by a minimum of 20% when the claws start flying. I came here to bleed, not to read. I murder my way through the lesser beasts, making a mortal enemy of Jura, then push forward into Old Yharnam, slaying everything in my path. Looks like the beasties were worshipping this thing. Alright, I'll bite. Let's see if the Bloodstar beast is worth the prayers. Credit where credit is due, the BSB does make it difficult to build up my beast meter, due to how much it moves around. But it's not really able to fight back either. And while Phase 3 was a bit tricky with the constant poison buildup, it wasn't much longer before the BSB went down. Oh look, foreshadowing. 5 more points into endurance, then on to the next area. I obtain the next tier of upgrade materials, and find the abandoned old workshop, where I collect several very important items, like this bone, and this pretty dress, and this, in any case, time to go lower. I make my way to the bottom of the tower, murder a nearby beast who refuses to share his pyromancy with me, but does share a beast rune we can use later. Then, rather than go to Vicar Amelia, I hang a hard left and head to Hemwick Charnel Lane. More upgrade materials, more blood gems, and after clearing the entire lane, more bosses. The fight itself is a little annoying, mostly because I can't just wail on the witches. Once they decide they're going to teleport, that's it. No more damage buildup. Outside of the minor annoyance though, there isn't much else to say. Just keep your eyes on the prize, and, you know, inside your own skull, and eventually the witches will go down in ribbons. Just like everything else. Unlike everything else though, this boss unlocks a new workshop tool for us. Runes. Runes etched into the mind. Etched into the soul, transcribing the inhuman utterings of the Great Ones into our very beings. We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood. Our eyes are yet to open. For man was not meant to know the secrets of the Old Ones, not meant to understand them. Their mere whisperings are enough to make anyone without proper mental vigor go mad. So one can only imagine what hearing the actual truths they tell would do to a mere mortal such as us. Vicar Amelia, a faithful servant of the church, turned beastly by her own ambitions. We're one and the same, though the effects of the Old One's words appear to have had a greater effect on her, a stronger reaction. Sorry, fool. Simply repeating the mantras isn't enough. You must believe the words. Words without conviction are just noise. Amelia was afraid of the unknown, afraid to become. Me, though, I have no such fear, only ambition, and I will claim what is mine. Having transformed into a proper beast, our moveset has somewhat changed. Our claw attacks are now even more aggressive and heavy-hitting than before, and though we've lost our ability to do a charged R2, we now have a leaping strike that can cause the backstab animation to trigger. We've also gained a new ability, a beastly scream. This scream is essentially the same as the Beast Roar Hunter tool, but doesn't require any ammunition to cast. Definitely a situational tool, but an additional tool nonetheless. And with my true form now realized, it's time to move forward. Take me away, Bagman. Yahar'gul, the land of loot. Plenty to grab here. First, I grab my revenge on the Bagmen, then go after Dark Beast Parl, because as we all know, one can never have enough Dark Beast bones, and the 2 I've got in my hand are in need of replacing. I go around Parl's body, systematically removing what little tendons he has left on each limb, and before he can react properly, it's over. There's only room for one beast in Yahar'gul after all. After clearing the area of upgrade materials, I head back to the Dream, where I upgrade my Beast Claws to +6 and my Vitality to 22. And after that, it's time to collect one last piece of my build. Back in Old Yharnam, where Jura sits on top of his crumbling tower. Hey buddy, I think I left my wallet back at the bottom of the tower. Would you mind getting it for me? Thank you! And with the Powder Keg badge acquired, we can now buy our armor of choice for the run, the Ashen Hunter set, which can be bought from the Messenger Fountain in the Dream. This armor set has some of the highest beasthood in the entire game, which means that our maximum beast meter, and therefore our maximum damage, just got a significant boost. Now granted, our defense debuff also just got stronger as well, but it's nothing a little extra health can't fix. So with our sights set ahead, it's time for the Forbidden Woods, where I find another beastly soul. This one seems to have a better grasp of how to control it though. No use hiding it, friend. I can smell the blood on your breath. The important beast the beggar turns into is a difficult fight, frantic and arrhythmic. And in its second phase, it gets even stronger, adding lightning damage to the mix and creating large gust attacks that I struggle to avoid. But in the end, I decide to fight lightning with fire, and I'm able to keep him off balance long enough to finish the fight. God damn, hardest fight so far. Thank God we don't have to do that again. That's foreshadowing, by the way. That said, he did drop another beast rune, which means we can raise our beasthood meter even higher. You'll love to see it. And with that done, there's nothing else left in the woods except for the Shadows of Yharnam. As always, hit and run tactics are the key to victory here, and attacking the mage first keeps the ranged projectiles from becoming a later problem. I rip apart the mage, then the katana wielder, and with both of them defeated, it isn't much longer before the candle bearer follows suit. First try, let's go. On to Byrgenwerth, where we get to meet Master Willem. Wow, that was pretty weak sauce, Willem. Let me show you how a true believer sounds. Anyway, on to Rom. What up, girl? Considering the claws were built for hit and runs, this boss fight doesn't offer much in the way of a challenge. The hardest part of the fight is the fact that Rom can be a bit fickle about when she'll let you attack. And even when she does let you attack, she sometimes changes her mind halfway through. So that's cool. But after several hit and runs and multiple false starts, it's over. And Vacuous Rom becomes even more vacuous. Now we just need to... hey, who is that? Hello? Hello? Someone? Anyone? Hello? Ugh, not sure what that was about, or who that lady was, but we're almost done with the run. Not much further to go. I make my way back to Yahar Ghul, underneath an angry purple sky, followed by not so successfully running past all the enemies. And after collecting enough bloodstone chunks to upgrade my claws even further, it's time to face off against the next unfortunate victim of the run, the One Reborn. Time to see if being a giant, slow-moving boss is a good idea against a high-speed build that gains power with every hit. Nope, no it is not. In fact, it's such a bad idea that I left the bell-ringing women alive throughout the entire fight, because it was more trouble than it was worth to go up there and kill them first. Which means I can now confirm that the bell-ringing women do, in fact, die alongside the One Reborn if you leave them alive. The more you know. Useless information aside, let's skip ahead to the two nightmares. My first stop is the Nightmare Frontier, where Amy is waiting for me. Unfortunately for her, my build is very good at ripping and tearing, and she's got more than enough limbs to tear and rip. You'd think that things would get a bit harder when she discovered this fact for herself and started using her own limbs as weapons, but the reality is that my claws can do so much damage when they're powered up that they can even punch through her legs, which are normally so tough that they're not even worth hitting. And with one last swipe of my claws, Amy goes back to the nightmare from which she came. Oh look, foreshadowing! After Amy though, it's on to the next dream, and thus the next boss, Micolash. Be honest, do you really need me to tell you how it went? Do you? Do you? At this point, even the shadows don't stand a chance. There's nothing else left to stand in my way. Nothing else that... You again. What do you want? What do you want? Why won't you say anything? What do you want? For Murgo's wet nurse. One lawnmower against the other. Unfortunately for her, it appears that my mower is the better blade. Outside of her shadow phase attack, which she used within the first few seconds of the fight for some reason, the wet nurse doesn't seem to have much else up her sleeves. One last rev of her engine, and I creep up behind her to finish the job. Another easy victory. Hey Murgo, I know I usually bring you a bad joke at this point in the video, but it looks like the only thing I brought this time was a mirror. Time to wrap things up. I go back to the beginning of the game, sneak into Yosefka's clinic through a window, and interrupt what I can only assume is some form of amateur beast cosplay. Not bad, but your posture is off a bit. It's all in the legs, see? Uwu? Horrific cosplay accident aside, I chow down on all three chords, because if I don't do it now, I'll forget to do it later. Say hi to Yosefka on my way out, then go all the way out to Castle Cainhurst. 4 minutes of high-speed sprinting later, and we've already arrived at the boss, Ligarius, aka Papa Christmas. Phase 1 of Father Christmas is nothing worth mentioning, as he's slow to attack and easy to wail on. But Phase 2 is a different story. Not only can Santa Claus slice through time and space, but it seems like every time I try to get close enough to swing on him, he counterattacks with a flail of sword swings. If only I had some sort of long-range attack. Oh wait, I do! He also keeps setting up his sword storm attack, which I absolutely need to focus on before continuing the fight, because while my attack is through the roof, my defense is in tatters. Ugh, that's it. No more swords for you today. I'm cutting you off. What? You know what? No further questions. We're just gonna give you your lumps and move on. On to the Upper Cathedral Ward. I rush ahead to the Celestial Emissary, who's already summoning in his squad of goobers, but remember from last time that the real Emissary has no health bar, which means I've got him in my sights. Oof, poor goobers never stood a chance. And if we're being candid here, neither did the Emissary. I think this boss got off about 2, maybe 3 attacks before he succumbed to claw-related death. Moving on, it's time for everybody's favorite lonely meal, macaroni. I wish I could say that she put up a good fight, but yeah, no, not really. Don't get me wrong, she did manage to give me a bowl full of mac and cheese once or twice, but as she was trying to reach her final form and enter phase 3, I broke said bowl and gave it a visceral attack for good measure. Combine that with a broken limb immediately after, and she never had a chance. Which is strange, considering she's usually a relatively hard boss for me. That's foreshadowing, by the way! But with that complete, that's it. Outside of Gehrman and the Moon presence, there's no other bosses in the main game, which means it's time to race through the DLC. Let's see how this build holds up against some of the hardest bosses in the game. First up is Ludwig the Accursed. You know, it's weird. I used to think this boss moves so fast, but now that we've had Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Elden Ring, I don't know. Just weird to think about how far we've come. 1 minute into the fight, and Ludwig is already entering phase 2. But, much like all the DLC bosses of every Souls game, these are the parts that give me the most trouble. Mostly because these are fights that I have the least amount of experience with, since not every build I make gets this far when I casually play these games. But judging by that damage, and the fact that my hyper-aggression seems to be doing wonders, I think we might finally be at the point where I understand these bosses completely. One Moonlight Greatsword tidal wave attack later, and that's all she wrote. Ludwig, melted on the first try. A good omen, to be sure. I jammed my big old grippers inside a skull, because that's how elevators used to work in ye olden times, then make my way through the laboratory maze until I reached the Living Failures. And boy howdy, let me tell you, do they live up to the name. At maximum beasthood, it only takes 4 swings per goober to put them back on the ground. And despite putting on one hell of a light show, the Living Failures don't offer much else in the way of resistance. Another DLC boss down. 3 more to go. And would you look at that, she's right here. Oh, hello there. Sorry about my face. It's not you, it just got stuck like that. Time for Lady Maria. She's quick, strong, and is one of my favorite boss fights in the game, which is why it almost feels disrespectful with how badly I'm beating her. Poor girl doesn't deserve this. Oh, honey, no, a corner is the last place you want to be today. Alright, phase 3. Guess she's finally gonna take this seriously. Guess it's time I did too. I'll admit, you surprised me for a second there. But only for a second. Goodbye, Maria. Until we dance again. But playtime is over. The last 2 bosses are the hardest in the game, bar none. With a fully upgraded Beast Claw and the best blood gems I can find, it all comes down to skill. Kaz. Or as some say, Cosm. Time to send your Benjamin Button ass back to class. Wait, where'd the music go? Oh, no. Okay, we all knew this was going to be a problem. Let's talk about why. First off, the Orphan of Kaz just sucks objectively as a boss fight. He's erratic, it's incredibly hard, and is incredibly annoying to listen to. Combine this with an even more erratic and harder hitting phase 2, and you're in for a good time. Combine that with the fact that I'm automatically at 20% less defense than I should be whenever I make an attack, and presumably even less defense as the fight goes on and my beasthood meter continues to rise, and you've got a boss that can easily kill you in 2 hits if you're not at full health. Which is why I actually ran out of blood vials while grinding out this fight, and had to go get more. To whatever part of the Bloodborne team that decided that blood vials should be a consumable resource and not just something that recharges upon death, just know this. You have cost me and thousands of other players countless hours that we will never get back, and we are not friends. But what else can I do? I don't know the Orphan of Kaz well enough, and more importantly, I need to practice phase 2, which I can't do unless I get there first. Because God almighty, I just can't with phase 2. The game wants me to can, but I just can't. But don't worry, it only took 2 hours of grinding out blood vials and over 5 hours of throwing my face into this wall of a boss fight to figure out how to beat him. I'm not bitter, you're bitter! Alright, let's go step by step over how to do this. That way I never forget it ever again. First off, don't log on. It's a trap, don't use it. Second, change your runes so that you can have maximum health vials. 28 ought to do it. This means we have less beast meter, so we aren't going to be able to do as much damage as we were before. But in all honesty, this is actually a blessing. Because while we aren't dishing out fat stacks, we aren't going to die in a single hit anymore either. And lastly, do the exact opposite of everything you've been taught in Bloodborne up to this point. Play defensively, only attack when you know you can get away with it, and hug the orphan's left-hand side, unlike 95% of the other bosses in this game. When you get to Phase 2, windows of opportunity will be narrow and in short supply. So if the orphan has a long animation, get in there and carve him up. But simply waiting for these long animations won't be enough. You'll run out of blood vials long before you have enough opportunities to safely kill him. So stay locked off, keep an eye on your stamina bar, and go to the one and only place that's safe, his back left. It's not a guarantee, and you are going to take a few hits, so be sure to stay as close to 100% HP as you can. But with enough luck and gallons upon gallons of blood vials, you just might be able to pull it off. And after an entire workday's worth of grinding and attempts, the montage can finally end. Orphan of Kaz reduced to gristle, and the nightmarish shade that leaks from the corpse of Kaz is released from its ethereal coil. Oof, this was supposed to be an easy run, a victory lap even. What the hell was that? Ah well, with only Lawrence left in the DLC, that was probably the worst of it. That's foreshadowing, by the way! On to Lawrence, the last boss of the DLC. After the Orphan of Kaz, how hard can this be? Oh goody! So yeah, this fight is a good time. Just take everything you know about the Cleric Beast fight, then make everything burn or explode. Add in a healthy dose of bullshit hitboxes and one-hit kill attacks, and you've got Lawrence. Yeah, this moment right here sums up the fight pretty well, actually. But don't panic. All those lessons we learned from the Orphan can somewhat apply to this fight as well. Keep the lock-on off, and whenever possible, get behind him. Do that, and you'll knock him into Phase 2. And it's right about here where everything stops making sense. Confined to the floor, Lawrence can now attack in large sweeping motions, and is also a big fan of racing towards you with explosive slam attacks, which is fine if you've got room to run away from it, but not so great if you're on the wrong side of the arena. But don't worry, I figured out the secret here too. Just hug his right-hand side. Oh sure, there's pools of lava to avoid, and there's always the chance that he'll up and swipe at you, but it's the best worst chance you've got. Stay vigilant, stay aggressive, and stay lucky. Do all three, and Lawrence should only take you half a day to kill, instead of a full one. And that's it. The entirety of Bloodborne beaten with just the Beast Claws. Naturally, there's still the final two bosses left to go, but in true FromSoft fashion, they'll be child's play in comparison to the ordeal we just went through. Garamon, old friend, why don't you sit back down before you hurt yourself? No? Alright then, you asked for it. Just remember, I gave you an out. You've barely enough vigor left to stand, let alone fend me off. Good night, old man. May you find peace in the waking world. And then there was one. Ah, there you are. I was wondering when you'd show up. You might be older than time itself, but even that which eternal lies may die. Wait, what are you doing? What is this? No, hold on, this isn't how it's supposed to... What? What is this place? I was about to kill the moon presence. So why am I here? And where even is here? This labyrinth, it feels familiar. As if I've walked these halls before. But no, that can't be right. Monsters. Unending waves of monsters. Every door leads to more, and for every hulking monstrosity I destroy, more take its place. Mysterious levers beckon me forward. The gears and pulleys they control hidden behind the cobblestone floors and walls. And always another doorway. Another set of monsters, waiting to be slaughtered. But with each door I open, with every staircase and ladder I descend, the question remains. Where am I? There's no rhyme or reason to the hallways, no patterns to discern among the madness. There is only deeper. More levers to pull, more enemies to disembowel. It's strange. So many of these fights are like walking through the memory of battles now long past, but so many others are completely foreign to me. Swordsmen with no names, descended from those who had no need for names. They die, nameless still. But then, as my mind overflows with insight and my weary brain can take no more, this labyrinth begins to play tricks on me, taking advantage of my weakened state. I killed these watchers only moments ago. How are they here again, several levels deeper? The same goes for this giant. Its weaponry may be changed, its bulk now even weightier than before, but the same giant, surely. I grant it a second death. And then the labyrinth reveals its hand, all pretense discarded. Rom can't be here. She died by my claws. You saw it. And yet, there she is, scuttling her way across the crumbling tiles. But the fight is not like before. Unlike last time, Rom now hides amongst the pillars, her brood taking advantage of my lack of sight. A subtle change, but one that makes all the difference. I'm no longer certain of my victory. What should be nothing more than hit and runs becomes a sloppy mess, desperate attacks, and distressed escapes. She dies, of course, but the fight is hard won, and more luck than skill. The labyrinth laughs, and with sudden clarity, the maze presents me with a mirror. I must fight myself, or rather, a version of myself. Perhaps this is what my enemies have seen all this time. More beast than man, all claws and teeth and blood. I reject this false image. I'm still in control. I'm still me. Aren't I? The labyrinth laughs. The enemies cycle again, different but the same, and a single mantra cycles through my mind. Deeper. We must go deeper. Deeper into our memories. Deeper into our mind. Nothing makes sense anymore. This brainsucker isn't a boss. It hardly qualifies as an enemy. Why is it here? Who are these madmen who lurk amongst the maze's walls? Are they versions of me as well? Of my past? My future? The maze offers no answers. Best not to linger too long. Hordes of enemies now flood each room. Every hallway filled to the brim with hazards and threats. Nameless descendants give way to nameless elders. Rituals unending, interrupted by my hands. All I see is more blood and bone. Nothing more. Then, seemingly without reason, the maze changes. Loose sand blowing endlessly in every room, every hallway, choking my lungs with granular discomfort. Great crevices appear, unbidden and unwelcome, revealing the truth. Despite my efforts, no matter how many enemies I've slaughtered, the maze continues. Deeper. Always and forever deeper. And then, disaster. The maze appears to have gotten bored of playing with me and presents me with an enemy I cannot defeat. No matter how hard I try, no matter how close I get, this abhorrent beast is too strong, too agile. How can I fight an enemy I've only ever seen once? How can I be expected to fight something that I was only able to beat in the past because I was technically stronger than it was? The answer, as much as I hate it, is simple. The same way as every other brick wall I've come across in this run. Repetition. Practice. Focus. No matter the time commitment, no matter the suffering, victory at all costs. But my sigh of relief is too early, because behind these waves of sand, I can hear the maze's rumbling, throaty laughter. Practice, it says. If practice is what you want, have all that you can stomach. Truth be told, my mind took a hit when I saw the abhorrent beast back again so soon. A cruel joke. Every shred of success I felt at beating the first beast, taken and used against me with the second. The second beast went down with only a handful of tries instead of the dozens it took to beat the first. But the knowledge that the labyrinth could simply summon yet another at will turned the taste of victory to ash in my mouth. Memories of victims past, ground up and made larger than life, stronger than their true selves. Another weight thrust upon my shoulders. My mind. A weight that returns no matter how many times I thrust it off. And then, right as my mind is at the breaking point, the labyrinth strikes. My vitality, decimated beyond repair. It takes a Herculean effort just to get to the end of each passageway, but the maze is quick to remind me that I've got the wrong myth. I'm not Hercules. I'm Sisyphus. Each time the boulder gets close to the top of the hill expands to even greater heights. The boulder back at the bottom where it started. This maze, these dungeons, I don't think they have an end. They just go deeper, further and further into the cold earth. Every time I think I've found the end, every time I think I've escaped, another horror blocks my path. Again and again, I replay fights I've already fought. Again and again, they come back to haunt me. Not a circle, though. A circle would remain the same. This is more akin to a spiral diving ever downward into the dark, into madness. Opening doors reveals visions of the cosmos, of stars that cannot be here, of creatures that should not and cannot exist. I do the only thing I know, the only thing that's real anymore. Surely none of this is. Rooms filled with viscous tentacular vines, grass that grows without sunlight and smells vaguely of gunpowder, creatures born of the stars and yet miles, leagues under the Earth's crust. And still, it goes deeper. I can't. Stop. Make it stop. Make it stop. Every time I think I'm out, every time I think I'm free, it loops. I can feel something in my skull, wriggling, squirming. It's uncomfortable and unnerving, but rather rapturous. And suddenly, I understand. I'm still there, still clasped in the Moon Presence's arms. I haven't left. I've been diving deeper, yes, but deeper into myself. And I'm not alone. There's something else in here. Something at the very end of this thing that can be called me. And it does not belong. Darkness. Dark so deep that light feels foreign. Is this me? Surely something should be here. There must be something left. And sure enough, there is. But this is not me. This is an invader, a parasite, my jailer and keeper. I have been trapped in my own mind for long enough. It's time I was free. That was truly unkind. Allow me to return your kindness in full.